Oh, that's a thing of beauty.
Oh, let's have a look at that then, Matt.
I think I might
Nice.
come out the other side.
No.
I can do it.
You can do it.
I can do
you
it.
Can do it.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to face forward. You know the format, Matt. Hi, it's Todd from Todd's Workshop. I'm Todd Cutler here, and I am at Matt and Lucy Easton's skirmish event with
Matt Easton of Schola Gladiatoria.
And this is another weird weapons. You probably know the format by now. Basically, I'm good at making the stuff, Matt's good at using the stuff, so I find something odd, make it, bring it down, and hand it to him. He has no idea what it is, but here we go.
Oh, that's a thing of beauty, isn't it?
That is a big spear. And the first thing I have to tell you and Matt is that is really sharp. So what we are going to do in this video is Matt is going to attack melons, mail, and shields. We're just going to see what this thing does. Stabbing, slashing, doing whatever we can, because I did a little short form video about it and there's a lot of interest in it, but also a lot of confusion about what it actually was. The other thing to note is that I've glued it and screwed it together here, just bolted it together. It will obviously be pinned eventually, but I'm going to sell this thing at some point. So at the moment I need to be able to strip it back down again.
Okay, well, first I'm going to try and get the measure of it slightly and move it around a bit,
Absolutely.
because this is longer than I'm used to for most of the spears.
It is 9 foot, 2.7 metres.
Yeah.
So in which case, let's give you a bit of open ground,
Yeah.
do a bit of drilling, do your
I'll
thing.
come back here, yeah. So although it's a faceted shaft, it's a symmetrical faceted shaft, so it's quite difficult for me to feel the direction of the edge.
So I think if you go for a stab and don't worry about edge alignment.
You don't want me to cut it? I can cut it.
Yeah. Oh, that was fantastic, Matt. Totally clean cut, totally easy.
Cuts like a sword. I mean, it is a sword on a stick, isn't it?
It's a sword on a stick. So what I'd like to do now is just, because it is fundamentally a spear, we're going to come back to the spear partisan thing, because that is part of the discussion. I'd like to see you just do a thrust with it.
A little bit low, but...
Yeah. So how did you find that?
It's lovely. It's quite big.
It is quite big.
In terms of mass as well. It's not that it's heavy for its size, but it's a much bigger steel blade than you normally get on a spear.
It is. I can't remember off the top of my head what the weight is. I'll put it in the notes. I think it's about 2.5 kilos.
Which is not heavy in literal terms, but when you stick it on the end of a 9 foot...
A long way away.
Yeah.
Particularly on the stab, that's going to affect your accuracy, because the whole time through,
it's a little bit slower to get out and pull back.
I'll tell you the story about this. The Wallace Collection contacted me, and they did last year and again this year, to make pieces for their handling collection. But they had a similar kind of sized spear in the Wallace Collection. So this is the Wallace one.
Yeah.
107 centimetres, 42 inches top to bottom. These are the two in the Met that they referred me to as reference for it. So that one is built roughly to the dimensions of the larger Met one. It's around about 101 centimetres, 39 inches long. 10-sided decagonal, I think it is, shaft.
Yeah.
You're going to correct me again. But anyway, 10-sided shaft and 10-sided socket. That's how the ones in the Met were. We got the thickness dimensions of the one in the Wallace. So it's a bit of a mix between the two establishments and the three weapons, in fact. But they're all dated similarly. They're all similar kind of length. They're all monsters. This one was the longest of the lot, coming through at, like I said, 9 foot, 2.7 metres long.
My understanding is these are the early form of partisan. They're what we know mostly from the 16th century, which usually have little ears at the side.
Yeah.
But the earlier forms don't have the ears yet, so we start to see these in Italy in the late 1400s, which marries up there. And they're partigiano, I think it is in Italian, and it's used in the same way. In fact, I think there's one shown in Morozzo which looks a bit like this.
I think the Met refers to them as partisan.
Yeah.
The Wallace referred to them as spear. I don't know, it's big and it's sharp and it's pointed, isn't it?
I mean, for me personally, I would probably want it a little bit shorter, because one of the interesting things about the partisan rather than the spear is pretty much kept point forwards in various ways, whereas the partisan turns and cuts a bit more like a poleaxe or a bill. And if you want to do that, there's a sort of maximum length. So I find this a little bit over long for me to be able to turn around easily.
But interestingly, it's true to size of the Met one. So I think we should have a go at mail first of all, and that's going to be a straight stab. One of the points that was brought up, if I can have that back, is a lot of people go, oh, well, it's a sword on a stick. And it kind of is a sword on a stick. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you slash with it. And I couldn't see from the Met Museum ones if they had langets or not. So the steel reinforcing strips that come down here to keep everything strong. However, the Wallace are very specific. They did not want the langets on this. So I'm assuming that although their one had langets, the Met ones did not. So that means that it doesn't have the reinforcing strips that perhaps you think it should have. I'm not sure it stops it being a slashing weapon, but if you whack that very hard on plate armour or mail armour, I'm pretty sure it is going to break at the socket. But you know whatever weaknesses you have in your weapon, and you don't use it that way.
And most swords will break if you hit them, sharp swords that is, not blunt reenactment ones, but a sharp sword, a well-made sharp sword of the correct weight, will be really damaged at least by just smashing into a sallet, helmet or a breastplate or whatever. And the only weapons really which don't break, self-destruct in that scenario are things like poleaxes, axes, maces, you know, these kind of percussive, exactly, warhammers. Whereas, you know, that's not how you use this. And also, I think to a certain extent, in Italy at this time, they've also got people with bills. Bills are generally speaking a bit more robust and perhaps better suited to taking on an armoured foe, because the cutting edge on this is essentially useless against someone in full plate harness. So I think this is mostly for use against the enemy infantry in Italy at this time, actually not wearing very much armour sometimes.
And I would think mostly in the stabbing action, not the slashing action. We saw it works very effectively against the melon.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. My inclination is that why have such a long edge if you're not going to cut with it?
Okay.
That's the first thing. The second thing is we have partisan treatises and they do cut with them.
Right.
So
I'm wrong. There we go. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go for the mail.
yeah.
So what we have here, we're going to, can you hold that, Matt?
Yeah.
We're going to flip him around. And I don't think there's any point in doing a slash because we know it's not going to cut through the mail. It's just not going to happen. Let's see what happens when I stab it. Have you ever done a spear on mail?
I can't remember.
No, I haven't. So for the record, this is 12mm OD mail by the look of it. It is around about 0.91mm thick, riveted, pin riveted, fairly low grade mail of the time. But just because it's commercially made and a little bit rubbish doesn't mean they didn't use it. Matt, take it away. Oh, let's have a look at that then, Matt.
I think that might
Nice.
come out the other side.
You think that's gone out the other side?
It pushed the shield shot
Did it?
forwards.
No, I think that was just,
Oh, okay, the momentum.
yeah, sorry to disappoint. Hold on though.
I can get it out the other side.
No.
I can do it.
You can do it.
I can
you
do
can
it.
do it.
Yeah.
Right, going to be horribly
Let me go again.
Because that is sharp.
Yeah.
It is the thing about mail,
You do this. Wiggle it this way.
it binds.
There you go.
Right,
7 inches.
yeah,
It's about the length of a Fairbairn Sykes dagger.
enough.
That's probably why Fairbairn Sykes dagger is about that long.
Hi, it's Todd here, and even in England, it's summertime. So it's time to get your summer knives. What are summer knives, you ask? Well, are you doing a hog roast? You need a messer, quite clearly. Are you doing a smaller steak barbecue? Well, a rugger would do you very well. General barbecue cooking, southern style brisket, barbecue skewers with style, Sunday roast. And then finally, of course, for a little bit of gardening work, brush clearing, you need a camp knife. Oh, is it? Oh, Matt, no. No.
No, about the
No.
same again.
Right, so we call it a day on that one? Oh, did you guess that would be the case? I
Yes.
personally did, yeah.
Yeah. Spears are like boss level. They're so powerful.
So also, it is mail, brilliant against slashing. It is the point impact. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go for a slash after this. No, we won't go for a slash. We will slash it just after this. Just so we know what we're dealing with here, we have got 15mm thick poplar, which has been shot to hell and back. Other than that, it's canvas back, front and rear, gesso covered, all the boards are glued. It is basically an authentic late 14th century shield. My hot tip on this one, orient with the grain.
Here we go. Do you want to stand back a bit, Todd? A little bit, just in case.
That's the first time we've ever said that. Yeah. So yes, through. Let's lift that off and have a look. Oh, well, okay. So if your arm was unarmoured, you've now got a
Inch.
25, 30mm, inch and quarter hole in your arm, which most people consider not good.
Should we try again?
Yeah.
This is a video's content in itself. There we go. See, I've just immobilised my spear, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that I've noticed, interestingly, both about mail and about poplar shields, is they really grip whatever sticks into them. Ah, yeah. Oh, actually, and penetrated the mail as well a little bit.
Oh. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So were you holding your shield against your body there?
Yeah.
That was through the shield and through the mail. Wasn't massively deeply through the mail, but it was through.
Or if you were 13th century and you had mail on your arm, not plate, then potentially that goes through your shield arm.
I would like you to use our fabulous spear and slash on the mail there.
Oh, I missed the shoulder and came down on the side. Yeah, I just raked a load of mail. Should we go again? Yeah. Oh, I actually sheared, that's where I hit.
So interestingly, as Matt has just pointed out, there is a bright cut across here. It's destroyed 4 or 5 links, maybe?
Yeah.
Not cut through, which is principally what the mail is for, but nonetheless, it has certainly disturbed it.
There was a lot of flex in the shaft then. It stopped dead.
So again, the mail has done what we expect the mail to do, which is it is held up. You can see some of the links are creased, some of the rivets are broken.
I could do a final one.
Yeah,
just
you want
above.
a final one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here we go. Oh. So I messed up the edge alignment that time and it twisted in my hand. Must have been very slightly off. Oh. It cut into the foam there, look.
Okay.
But it didn't make it down to the mail.
Nasty cut. I'm wondering, because this has got steel superstructure in it. This is archery foam. What I can tell you about it, which I think is largely meaningless, but what I can tell you about it is that this stops an arrow almost exactly the same as ballistic gel does. What that means in the context of that, or anything else really, I don't know. This injury is that deep. 7 centimetres, 2.5 inches. That's a life-affirming or ending moment.
Yeah.
I think that gives us enough to really conclude about it. A large spear, partisan, late 15th century, so 1470s-ish. Early partisan style, you think?
Yeah.
Without langets, just over a metre long head, ash shaft.
I mean, I love it as a weapon. It's very versatile. Based on the weapons that I'm used to using, it's a bit long. So this is the length I'd want for a conventional spear that I'm only thrusting with. With something with a long double edges in this case, like this, or like a glaive or a bill, I personally prefer something a bit shorter. And that's purely because when you're trying to turn something around, it's more cumbersome when it's this long.
Sure.
Clearly the little ears are a later development that we find, and it's related to the sort of the three-pronged spears we see at this time as well, so they sort of are related weapons. And I do like those little lugs. They're very useful in guiding aside opponents' pole weapons, so I can see why they put them on later partisans.
So could you see that as a direct line of development in essence?
Yeah, I think so. And I think already they're already at this time starting to appear on some of these. It's just some have them, some don't. But by the 16th century, pretty much almost all partisans have little ears at the bottom. Although, funnily enough, I think there are some Henry VIII ones which don't. I understand this is based on a museum original, so you have copied. I personally would prefer a shaft which was predominantly rectangular or flattened octagon.
It's interesting you say that, because as a thrusting spear, it doesn't matter.
No, absolutely.
If you're using it in any other aspect, edge alignment becomes a thing, and you're getting no real ability to edge align off it.
And 1 minute you're doing this at them and the next minute you're wanting to cut. It's very difficult to feel, which you need to be able to feel with your hands and not have to visually see it. We often find, obviously, with things like halberds and bills and poleaxes, they have flattened shafts, much like a lot of sword grips are, so you can feel which direction the edge is. So I would personally prefer that. That being said, and you touched on this about thrusting spears, you don't usually find that on a thrusting spear. And so actually, if you're using this predominantly for thrusting, you might choose to have this type of shaft on. So it might be that this one that was made with this style of 10-sided socket, could be that this was predominantly a thrusting weapon and that the cutting was secondary.
It might be in the early days of this type of weapon.
And the other thing to mention is that we're here looking at chops, which obviously you can do with this kind of long blade, But another thing you can do with these type of pole arms is if you are trying to thrust someone, but they push your thrust off aside, as you come back, you can do a raking cut like that, which you could do on someone's leg, someone's inner arm, their neck, face, whatever. And if these are being used by relatively lightly equipped Italian infantry, as they used at the time, that long edge of more drawing and pushing, that might be the primary purpose
which is actually an interesting point as well, because yes, if you go into battle and this is like super sharp, razor sharp, that's brilliant. But what you've done to it today is going to, and has, you can feel disrupted the edge.
Well,
don't worry, it'll come back.
We've hit mail.
We've hit mail. But when you're talking about a raking cut, that blunting is going to stop you going through fabric armour and things like that. But the longer the blade length on it is, the more progressive that cut is going to be and the more it is going to go through. So even though it's been blunted off, I'm still going to expect that to, with a long cut like that, if you are dragging it back, to still have a good impact on fabric armour.
There's another point about indexing the edge as well, that if you are already in contact with the target, you can feel your edge alignment
then you have it.
there, and then you pull. So you don't need to feel it in your hands, because that's a sort of absence of contact. But when you have contact with an object, you can feel the edge,
So we didn't go through a whole battle today, but you know, you didn't really hold back, and it's not looking like it's suffering from a lack of langets at all.
No.
The fact that it doesn't have them does not make this a non-functional weapon at all. Melons, as ever, easy to kill. Straight through the mail, deeply. The shield was definitely a lot more resistant, but still it went deeply enough through the shield that it was causing problems on the other side.
Yeah.
Weird weapon, only because I haven't seen one this long before, so it's not that weird, sorry. But weird weapon, hit or miss, Matt?
Oh, I love it. And you know, I think often when we look at weird weapons, we're like, well, these can't have been super effective, or they would have been more common and therefore not weird. But this one is not that weird because it's actually super effective. And this became the partisan, and the partisan was a very popular pole weapon for all sorts of soldiers and guards. Yeah, exactly. Still carried in a ceremonial function in the 19th century in some places in Mexico and stuff. But yeah, very successful in the 16th century, very popular. We've got treatises telling us how to use them, so definitely a hit as a weapon.
I'm looking at it. I'm loving its elegance, its simplicity, its sleekness, and its overall difficulty to transport is a minus point. But, you know, that's a very minor point. The shaft stood up a lot better than I thought it would, in fact. So, brilliant. So anyway, there you go. Weird weapons, the big spear, I don't know.
Partisan.
Yeah. Partisan spear, there you have it. And don't forget, of course, that Matt and I both have YouTube channels. So this one is going out on my main channel. I have a secondary one called Todd Cutler, also on YouTube. Matt, of course, has Schola Gladiatoria. And we both have Patreon pages. So again, the support you give us through that is fantastic. Oh, and also, we both have websites, toddsworkshop.com.
Schola Gladiatoria, if you just search for us, then
and you'll find it. All links in the notes. Anyway, see you again. Hope you enjoyed it.